Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL Week number 14 upset alert predictions, where I talk about potential Week 14 upsets that might happen, that may not happen, things like that. Let's get right into it, starting with the Cleveland Browns. A lot of people looking at this game with caution because the Browns have really owned Cincinnati over the past few years. You have the situation with Deshaun Watson. He was really rusty last week. Can he shake it off? Cincinnati looking phenomenal even without Joe Mixon. T. Higgins developing into a number one wide receiver along with Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow really breaking out since he gets that big win last week. And it just feels right. It feels like it's the time Cincinnati gets the monkey off their backs. They beat Cleveland. There's a lot of speculation in regards to this game because we really don't know what the current situation is with Deshaun Watson. I'm almost just expecting him one of these weeks, this week, next week, to really just come out and play like an all-pro. I don't know when it's going to be. Obviously, against Houston, he was bad, but the Browns' defense carried them to a victory, and also Houston is just horrific this year. So I think it's a tough task for the Browns, for Deshaun Watson. Cincinnati -6. The only play I would say in this game is possibly the over. You know, you would think Watson would play better. They have a good offense. They had a pretty good offense even with Jacoby Brissett. And then Cincinnati's just scoring like crazy right now with their offense coming off that win against the Chiefs. So I think Cincinnati wins this game. Don't love the -6 either way because there's a lot of speculation in regards to Deshaun Watson and how well he'll play coming off that 700-day rest period, but I do like the over and Cincinnati winning that game. Next, okay, I just threw this game in because it's funny and I want to talk about it. Dallas and Houston, the battle for Texas. This game taking place in Jerry World. The biggest spread that I've seen this season, the Cowboys -17, and in terms of percentage, analytical percentage, according to ESPN FPI, 97% chance Dallas of winning this game for the NFL. That is simply unheard of. And guys, I don't know how Houston is going to cover this spread. I really don't. Dallas has had games this year where they've kind of had mental lapses, but Houston is just so bad. Obviously, it would be just one of the biggest upsets in recent memory if somehow Houston won this game with whoever they're starting, whether it's Davis Mills, Kyle Allen. I know Kyle Allen has started the past few games. They simply don't have an offense. Brandon Cooks does not want to be there. So, yeah, guys, they do have a good young running back. Pierce is really quick. He surprised me with how good he is. But other than that, it's very clear Houston is tanking and will likely be taking Bryce Young, I would say, with the number one overall pick. Dallas will win that game. Obviously, that's not going to be an upset. This is a real interesting one. Minnesota traveling to Detroit. So Minnesota with 10 wins facing a team below 500 and they're underdogs. And I have to agree with Vegas here. I like Detroit to win this game. ESPN FPI does not agree with me. They have Minnesota at a 57% chance. If you're just playing the overall value game, Minnesota plus 1.5 is definitely the value. But in terms of this situation, in terms of the parity surrounding the NFL, do we really think Minnesota is going to start 11-2? Honestly, I mean, maybe, because I didn't think they were going to be 10-2. But it's a little bit different from last week. Last week, it seemed almost too obvious that Minnesota was going to cover a very small 3-point spread against a team like the Jets. And I also had Minnesota covering their 3-point spread on Thanksgiving night against New England. So I have been in agreement with Minnesota and trusting Minnesota. I'm off of them this week because Detroit has some talent. Jared Goff, that offense, they play a lot better at home. I love the over, pretty much any over in a Detroit Lions home game, and I think Detroit gets the job done. Although, I almost wonder if this spread ends up becoming a pick'em. It just feels like money is about to pour in on Minnesota, just the overall value of it. This game opened -1, and it's actually been, the last time I saw it, it got bet up to 1.5. So I think that's probably the high water mark for the Lions. I would be surprised if it got bet up any further. This is Kirk Cousins, 1 o'clock Kirk Cousins, so he should be pretty good. Although he hasn't been too bad on primetime. He was pretty good in the Thanksgiving game. Either way, it feels like Minnesota is due for a loss. I know that's not a huge logical reason, but with the parity in the NFL, I do like Detroit at home. They're coming off they play so much better at home. They just destroyed a decent Jacksonville team at home and scored a ton of points. So I like the Lions there. Next, we have the Jaguars taking on the Tennessee Titans. And guys, who knows with these two teams? It seems like these teams play every other week or something. I don't know. Tennessee right now is -3.5. I really would like Jacksonville +3.5. If it gets down to 3 or 2.5, that's where I get a little squirmy. But if you can get Jacksonville plus the 3.5, that gives you the window to where, let's say Tennessee wins by a field goal, they win on a walk-off kick, whatever, you're still winning the bet even with the Jaguars losing. And it does feel like the Jaguars, they can bounce back in this game. Let's be real. This game is probably going to come down to the final minutes. And the reason I'm picking the Jaguars for the upset, I think the Jaguars are better than their record says. And obviously, I think the Titans are worse than their record. I mean, the Titans have been one of the biggest outliers in the NFL this season. I finally decided to jump on the bandwagon last week, and they did not reward me. They got trounced on the road in Philadelphia. Guys, when I made that prediction, Tennessee to upset Philadelphia, it was looking better, and like the prediction aged like fine wine throughout the week. Every analytic, every expert was saying, not only is Tennessee going to cover the 4.5 or 5.5, wherever you got it, because that line I think originally opened at 6, and it got bet all the way down to 4.5, and it stabilized at 4.5. The Tennessee-Philadelphia line I'm talking about. And it was like, oh my God, this is a great matchup. They're going to control the game. Who would have seen Jalen Hurts against a good Tennessee defense throwing for like 400 yards? I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's an MVP performance. We will take Jacksonville in that one. Next, we have Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So the quarterback situation for Baltimore, whether they're, obviously if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, it's going to significantly affect it. But I do think Vegas, they might be overrating Pittsburgh a little bit, and I've been a huge proponent of Pittsburgh. They've been great the past few weeks. I said they were going to beat Atlanta. That game was a pick-em, and they won, and they totally controlled it. Kenny Pickett is playing better, but it just feels like with a rookie quarterback, I don't know, -3. I know they're at home. I'm just not getting significant value with a rookie quarterback at home, 3-point favorites. I'm not liking the value there for Pittsburgh, so it's definitely a lot of speculation. Betting on backup quarterbacks is a miserable thing in the NFL. You really don't want to do it. And maybe, honestly, I should lower this overall total when it comes to maybe like lower scoring game, maybe 20-19 or something like that. Baltimore, their offense, even with Lamar Jackson, has not been good. And against Denver, they, are able to squeak out a win, barely scoring any points. But I do think they will stabilize, and they will be able to keep this game with Pittsburgh close. I'm not getting a good value there for Pittsburgh. Maybe it's a situation where Pittsburgh is on such a roll, and now they're at home and they're facing a backup quarterback, and it's like, don't overthink it, just keep betting on Pittsburgh. I could see that certainly, but I do think Baltimore keeps it close. They are a respectable franchise, and they do have enough talent on that team, especially on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, to really cause problems to Kenny Pickett. Next, we have San Francisco and their quarterback situation with Brock Purdy taking on Tampa Bay. San Francisco right now, 4-point favorites, and that's mainly due to just the overall sheer talent on the roster of San Francisco. It is crazy. They are defying logic, really, no matter what quarterback they throw out there. Feels like they throw out Baker Mayfield and they would win. But I do feel like this might be a little bit of a correction game. I do like the Bucs. Their offense has not been good. I understand it. But I think the Bucs defense at home against that 49ers offense with the quarterback situation, it's favorable. It's very favorable. Maybe you get a turnover. Maybe you get a defensive score. You generate points another way. Maybe Brady scores 2 touchdowns, the defense scores 1, they help him out, they get him a turnover and great field position, something like that. It just feels like Tom Brady versus Mr. Irrelevant. If I can get Tampa Bay +4, I have to consider that really good value. And I know this is a roster thing. San Francisco has such a talented roster. Nick Bosa right now, really in contention, possibly the leader for the Defensive Player of the Year with 13 and a half sacks, and he also missed a game. So he's been an absolute beast. He's a game wrecker, but I think the Bucs at home is the value play. That's just my opinion on that one. Next, we have final game, the Monday night game. It is New England taking on Arizona. And this is just again, guys, it's very simple. I said this in my predictions video. It comes down to just having trust in the New England coaching staff and Bill Belichick over whatever is happening in Arizona, because I really don't know what's going on there. There seems to be a clash right now. Every week you've got Kingsbury yelling, Kyler Murray angry. I think New England, originally I did have Arizona winning this game because Arizona, they're 1-6 at home. Now, you could say that's a great sign that New England's going to win because it's a trend, but I'm someone that thinks, they're 1-6, that means they're due for a win at home. Because you're going to go 1-7 at home, but I don't know, guys. This comes down to just calming down and thinking about the situations at hand. Yes, Arizona, I believe, came off a bye, but New England has also had an extended rest because they played on Thursday night, and they did not play well against Buffalo. It seems like a good bounce-back spot. Mac Jones, you just don't turn the ball over, keep the game close, lean on the defense against an Arizona team who's really discombobulated right now, and possibly come away with the win. So, guys, those are my week number 14 upset alert picks and predictions. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.